So this is our second editing tutorial video. Now, if you already know a ton about editing, this video probably isn't for you, but if you're just getting started or don't know a ton as far as the basics of editing, this video was made for you. So last time we showed how to set up a timeline, or this thing right here, and timeline is what they call it in the business. And I set up a red footage timeline, which is all the stuff we shot on the red camera, and then everything we shot on the DJI Inspire is all right here. Now, I first start editing the footage that I'm most excited about. In this case, I'm really excited about some of the stuff we got on the red, and most cases, I usually start on the intro of the video. Because a lot of the stuff we shoot are montage videos as far as just showing the sport or what we're capturing in the coolest way. There's just a lot of footage from a lot of different days, and it takes a lot of time. So I first start with a story because that sets the pacing for the rest of the video. Right when I get started, I usually don't know what music I'm gonna be editing to. So I'll just start editing and get kind of a feel and a vibe for that. And once I get that, then I start throwing in the actual songs. Now, the shorthands or the keys you should be aware of when you're just doing the basic editing stuff is plus and minus. So on my keyboard, if I push plus, it zooms into the timeline. If I push minus, it zooms out of the timeline, just like that. These are the tools that you use to make your story or your video so much cooler than watching 5 hours of footage straight. Boring. So the two tools that I'm using constantly are the selection tool and the razor tool. Now you'll notice right next to the razor tool, it says the letter C. So that means that's the shorthand key. Instead of clicking it here, you have your mouse over here and you don't want to go all the way over here. If I push C, it becomes a blade. If I push V, it becomes a selection tool. And if I forget what the selection tool is, it shows it right there, selection tool V. And they have all these other tools, but those start getting a little bit more complicated. So we're gonna save those for another editing tutorial video. Like I said, I start editing the intro right away. So right here, we have Ashley, who is a world-renowned wake surfer, actually world champion for whatever it's worth. And I will play the clip just to get an idea of what it is. Now right here is the play button, so I can actually play it here, or if I scroll back over it, it says if I use the space bar, that's a short key. So I'll push the space bar, and now it's playing the footage just like that. Now, one thing to be aware of too before we start getting into the actual nitty-gritty of the editing is right here. This is really important. This is one thing I love about Adobe Premiere, is I can change the resolution of what I'm viewing. So right now, we shot this footage at 6K resolution, which is pretty much 6 times bigger than 1080p. Right here, I am seeing it at 1/8 6K resolution. So it can play it significantly faster, or it has an easier time playing back compared to if I'm playing 6K. Now, I am editing on a fully upgraded MacBook. Trash can is what a lot of people call it. It literally looks like a trash can. So it is beefed up, but even then, playing 6K footage, right here, I'm clicking full. So it's playing 6K right now in full resolution. Let's see what happens. I hit spacebar, and it's lagging like crazy. So depending on what computer you're using, I'm kind of changing this depending on what's going on. Now, if I was working on like a really slow computer, I'd probably be editing at 1/16 that resolution. Now, with that being said, it's playing it without it lagging, but it's super pixelated because I am seeing it at 1/16 resolution. So this is kind of a pretty important thing. If you're wondering why your video is lagging, probably lower the playback resolution. Now, if you're editing at 1080p, which I know a lot of you are, and we even do a lot of our stuff in 1080p, it won't give you all of these options compared to the footage with the red, just because it's super hard to down res 1080p, because at that point you can hardly see it if it's a 1/16 resolution compared to 6K resolution. So right here, I am playing back everything at 1/4 resolution. Let's see how that works. So to me, this looks solid, and this still, the quality looks awesome in my opinion. And this is all raw footage. It has not been color corrected at all. And then if I go at half resolution, I just want to kind of show you a demonstration. I hit play. You see how it takes a second to start playing the footage. So this isn't bad, but it's definitely not as smooth as 1/4 resolution. So I am going to now play it at 1/4 resolution. So right here, when I'm starting to edit, I don't just sit here for hours and watch the footage in real time. I am grabbing it right here and moving it and speeding up that process. So if you guys weren't here and I was just trying to hurry as fast as possible, I come right here, I'm like, okay, I know already what's here. I'm gonna scroll about right here because I know I'm not gonna use any of this footage. So I'm going to cut this footage out. Now to get rid of this footage right here, this is all fluff as you just saw it on the timeline. There's two ways that you can go about that. One way is use the razor tool. So I'd push C on my keyboard and I could cut it. Then I could push V, which is my selection tool. I could select it and push delete. The other option is I do not, and I just pushed Apple Z, and that undid it twice. So right here, I know it's somewhere in here, I can just grab it right here and I can drag everything over. It drags the video clip and the audio stuff just like that. So that's a little faster than cutting and then deleting. So once again, I usually don't watch everything in real time when I'm just kind of getting rid of a lot of the fluff. And let's see, does she get up? Does she get up? And this is a winner clip. So this is something there's a high chance of me using because she actually got up, and this is actually the first time she'd ever done that. So this was a pretty big deal. So I already know, because I shot this footage, that everything else is just fluff. She does a little trick here, but that's not like the solid stuff that I know we're gonna use anyways, so I'm just going to delete. By grabbing that clip and moving it over, I can get rid of it. Now, there's a couple important things right here that you should be aware of. If I grab the clip here, I can grab and drop, I can move it over or cut space out. Same thing over here. If I grab it in the middle of the clip, I can actually physically move the entire clip and the audio. And also, something that I use a lot is I'll grab the clip, if it's a clip that I love, I'll lift it up to the next layer track. So I just lifted it up, and that's my visual cue that I know that's an important thing to tell my story. So I'm gonna push the minus button and get out a little bit. So I can instantly look at this footage right here, and without actually selecting it, I know that this clip is a clip that I'm probably going to want to use. So there you have it. That's a little trick of the trade. Now I'm gonna go through this other footage really fast. Now, once again, I'm not playing everything in real time, waiting hours and hours, because we have 6 hours of footage here. I don't have 6 hours to spend. So does she get up here? And she doesn't. So just to make my job easier, I know there's no chance of me using this clip. I mean, there's a small chance that I didn't like use part of it, but I want people to know that this was like a real one take. So I'm just going to delete that. So I just selected it with my selector and I just pushed delete. As simple as that. Now here we had the camera in an underwater housing, and an SPL underwater housing, which we actually did an underwater housing video, which will have pop up right here in case you guys want to click and watch that. But we had it under that underwater housing, and this is a red camera, so that's why it looks really clear. And that is this take. Sadly, when we were shooting this, I really wanted the sun to be out, and we had it out and then just like disappeared within like 10 minutes, super fast. So I didn't get the sun setting that I wanted, so we just made the best out of it. This was one of our last days we had Ashley, so it was kind of all or nothing. And let's just see this clip, and she didn't do that one. Now I already know that this was one of our last takes with Ashley. So a lot of footage I technically don't even need to go. Now this angle though, and whenever we try and shoot intros, I try and get it from several different angles to make it as interesting as possible. So you just push spacebar to play the video. Now she gets up on this angle and she killed it. Now let's see what happened. Now I zoomed out and this all looks solid. All I care about right now though with what I'm doing, I know I'm going to use stuff from earlier on when we were shooting from other footage, so I'm not even going to go through that other footage because I already know, because I shot it, that it's not going to make the cut. Now if you're editing for someone else, you're not going to know all those details of what was good and what wasn't, but because I was there and I was actually looking at this footage through my viewfinder, I know exactly what it was. And let's see how this take was. Now once again, I didn't play this clip from right here because look, this isn't very fascinating. There's a chance I could use this, but I already know in my head how I want my intro to be, so I'm not gonna use that shot. When I'm approaching this, in all of our videos or a lot of our videos, I like having mystery at the beginning of the video. And I think it's much more mysterious seeing Ashley out here by herself in calm water, like kind of in a place that doesn't look like it's an actual ocean where you see someone surfing. And if I reveal the boat right at the start, it's not gonna have the same effect. So I kind of like the idea of surprising people. So there's a chance though I could use this clip right here. But once again, I don't sit and watch all this footage. I just know I'm not going to use it. So if I was gonna use anything, it would start right here. I hit spacebar and she gets, oh, she may have, watch. Sorry, I'm just like getting into it now. It's like a football game. And she didn't get it. Now I can click this and delete it, or another option is I can just grab this clip, move it over, and then I can start editing this shot just like that. Now I was having a little bit of problems with my underwater housing at first. You can see all these water droplets. This is just more than an editing tutorial video, by the way. I just think it's good to share that process. But I was getting a lot of water droplets, so I actually licked the entire lens and it got rid of that problem for me. And that's why this underwater stuff is so clear. Now going back to this shot, this is a good shot, but it's not a shot I'm not sure if it's gonna make the cut or not. So I usually don't lift that to the second layer or even the third layer, because I can even lift it up here. I usually, for me personally, and a lot of editors, they do things different. For me personally, my favorite shots I put on the top layer, and then my like second favorite shots are on the second layer, and then the bottom layer are shots that are like potentially gonna make the cut, but not like a guarantee. If they're on the third layer, it's always a guarantee, at least the way I see it. Now here's another potential. See, I'm still having problems with the water here on the lens. So I already know that that is not going to make the cut. Now look how much clearer the lens is, because I finally licked the lens and it got rid of all of my problems. And this looks potentially solid. And she looks over. Now I know, let's see, does she start paddling? Nope. So this is a potential for the intro as far as the opening shot, because I always had a plan when I was actually shooting that day that it would start underwater and then be like dun, 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 dun. And so I just lifted that up to the third layer because that's a high chance of actually making the cut. And then I do not believe she got up here, so I'm just gonna scroll through here. She did not get up. And if I know there's a lot of clips that probably won't make the cut, I'll kind of like batch delete them all at the same time. So she didn't get up there. So I already know in my head this one, because it's already selected, was bad. So I know this one's bad, and let's see if this one's bad. This one I got some of the underwater housing in because I actually didn't bring the right ring that hooks to it, so I couldn't use any of this. So I'm just gonna select all of those and hit delete. Now I'm gonna minus and then plus, and it zooms in to where this dash or line is, or whatever you want to call it in the biz. I don't know what they call it. And that's the thing. There's no right or wrong way to edit. It's just whatever works and whatever tells the story. Editing a montage is completely different than editing a narrative. Completely different approach. I feel that montages take significantly longer and are much more tedious. So right here, let's see. I'll play this. So this is all, especially right here, because they already got like the intro shots that I'm pretty sure. This is a good shot to show her starting to paddle towards the boat. So I'm going to, I just grabbed and moved it over, and I'm gonna lift this up because this is a high chance, and I'll probably even scroll this just so I have a little bit more headroom. And then we have this boat shot where she gets up as well. The sun's out on this shot though, and it wasn't out on the other shots. So I'll leave this here and I'll leave it on the bottom in case that other shot just doesn't work, but I'd prefer to have it all match the same lighting. But this looks significantly different than this that's all lit up from the natural sun. And then this one, she didn't make it. So delete that. So now right here, this is gonna be a lot easier for me to edit the actual intro. Now I can just grab these and select them and move over. I would personally never do that. I'm gonna push Apple Z, Apple Z, Apple Z, that undoes it. What I will do now, because there's different layers up here, but they're the same layers down here as far as audio tracks go. So I'm gonna select this empty space and hit delete, and then it butts it up next to this, and then I'll do the same thing for this, and then this. and this, and this. Now the reason why I didn't do it on these video tracks compared to the audio tracks is for this reason. So when I collect this, because this is on a higher level, I hit delete, and it can't do that because if it slides over, it's trying to slide to another video track, and there's none up there actually. And then it kind of gets confused. It just doesn't know what to do. So I just do the audio tracks because I know they're all on the same layer, if you will. So now I have the footage that I can use for my intro, and it is all right there. So I will start assembling this, and it's gonna take me probably about an hour, where I'm gonna 20 minutes to actually assemble it, and then I'm gonna spend 40 minutes doing the sound design on this part right here. And I will cover that in another tutorial video, but I wanna cover right now the basic stuff. I have the footage that I know I can start piecing it together. I have the puzzle pieces, kind of how I look at it. And this is the fun part. Going through all of this footage is the lame part. It's not my favorite because it's a lot of sitting and waiting, and a lot of the footage isn't phenomenal. Like right here, he's fixing his life jacket. This isn't the stuff that's exciting for people. So I kind of scroll through it. Okay, I see water splashing there, so there's a high chance that something really cool happened there. But this guy's one of the world's best, so that's probably not the best representation of him, so I'm not gonna use that on the cut. But if I'm editing through this footage, I will do exactly that as I'm going through it. Just say I like this shot, I thought it was like the best shot I've ever caught, which this would not be the shot, my favorite, but if I love that shot, I would lift it up. And I thought that shot was amazing, it's definitely making the cut, like I said. I personally would lift it to the third layer up here, and then I would be set. And then if I knew this footage was awful right here, I would just click and delete it, and then that would be the end of that footage. Now, you'll notice right here on the timeline is there's no audio tracks here, but there's an audio track here where I can hear the actual audio from the clip. Now, the reason for that is the red shoots in slow motion as well, and these clips were shot in slow motion. This was shot at 24 frames per second, which when you do that, it records audio. So that's the reason for that. So I can actually see a visual representation right here of the slow motion. So you can see like, holy cow, these people shot way too much slow motion. Probably true, but because we were working with these amazing athletes with water, all that stuff looks phenomenal in slow motion. So that's like the thought process behind that. So right here, let's just watch a clip of Ashley. If I was editing just this scene right here, I'd find the part where it looks like she was gonna bust out a trick. So like right here, super sick. And she was like mind-blowing because every time she did a trick, she would land it perfectly 87% of the time, give or take. Maybe it was 85. So I'd say the shot starts kind of around this area, and she does a lot of tricks within this area. So I'm just gonna say, okay, that was a solid trick. I'm gonna cut that, lift this one up. And that was like one of my favorite tricks I've ever seen. So I'm gonna lift it up here to the third layer. And after I get done spending, let's see, 5.5 hours is how long this timeline is. After I go through all this footage, which I'm not gonna have any of you sit on, I would take all of these shots. Whoa, I can't get it. See, if I'm having a hard time selecting it, I just move this here and I zoom in by pushing plus, then I can grab it and I can move it over. And then when I move it over here, Premiere starts sliding the actual timeline. Let me just make it a little bit easier for that. Okay, now it's doing it. Computers, can't live with them, you can't live without them. That's for dang sure. So now I have a clip here. Now I would get all my best shots after I did my intro, and then I'd edit through all this footage, and then I'd put them all behind this. And by then I'll have my song selected, and then we'll talk about that in the next tutorial video. So right now I wanna talk about a couple different things. We're editing 5.5 hours of footage. That's a nightmare, that's not fun. Sorry for raising my voice, but that's the truth. So for me, I edit a lot on my laptop. The thing that's not ideal about the laptop is it's a small screen. The computer monitor is significantly smaller. So for the last 2 years, I've used ultra-wide monitors. Absolutely loved them. I was used to doing a lot of stuff on my laptop, and that screen is significantly smaller. It's about this much space, which when you're working with a timeline that has 5.5 hours of footage, I was editing on a timeline about this big. and zooming in, out constantly, it was a nightmare. So we have switched, 2 years ago, we switched to actual ultra wide monitors, and within the last 6 months, we've actually switched to curved ultra wide monitors. Now, for those wondering why the curved ultra monitor, this was like a weird thing for me because at first I was like, oh, I don't know if that feels natural or not, a curved monitor, because I was used to a flat monitor. I can 100% without a doubt honestly tell you all that the curved ultra wide monitors are my favorite. I'm sitting in front of 2 of them right now, and those are my favorite to work on. Those are my favorite to edit with. And I just feel I can see my entire timeline and it wraps around me, so I feel I'm fully engulfed in my work. If you're in the mood to buy a curved monitor or not curved monitor, I definitely would suggest getting an ultra wide regardless of what you think. But I personally love the curved ultra wide monitors. That is my shout out to Ashley, our amazing athlete, Adobe Premiere, which we're using for editing, and our curved ultra wide monitors that we are using for our presentation, and then for Apple for their awesome computers. Thanks so much for watching, for supporting us. Next tutorial, we're going to cover even more stuff on editing. Please let me know down in the comments what you want to see next as far as editing goes. Thanks so much for watching. Over and out.